is an energy reading for graceful power. So to begin with, I have my Isis statue here. So these are some of the energies coming through at the very beginning of the reading. And of course, I always choose whatever I'm drawn to. This is my guardian dragon. And I was playing some dragon meditation at the beginning of the reading as well. And I know you had a question. One of your questions here is about some dragon type of guides that you have, and I was remembering when I was looking through the question that actually I'm pretty sure this came up during your last reading, the video reading. It was talking about oh, that's what it was. It was when I was retrieving your code name, I was looking at you and I was getting this feeling of a dragon energy, but it didn't feel even like around you. It felt like yourself. It felt like you were this dragon being or had this dragon energy with you, like you had had lifetimes as that kind of being. Okay, so then I have my fuchsite here. This is a really healing crystal, and it's also a nature crystal as well. And then I have my purple fluorite here. This is really excellent for developing third eye, psychic abilities coming through. So like abilities that you have that are coming through, and then also abilities that you're attempting to develop and learning new skills psychically, being more open, that sort of thing. And then at the same time as helping you to open up to your abilities and what have you, it's also really amazing for psychic protection as well. So it's pretty similar to amethyst in that way, actually. Okay, and then I have my green fluorite here. This is another similar to fuchsite. It's very it has a lot of nature energy, but then also a lot of healing energy combined. And then also it's a very calming crystal. It's very much a heart chakra crystal. Very good for calming, cleansing, clearing your thoughts, clearing your emotions, and just being in more of a calm, relaxed state. Okay. So during your first reading, another thing that I recall is that you had a lot of various types of guides coming in. You had a lot of ascended masters coming in. And now I'm just kind of waiting to see who's going to come in. When I was creating the sacred space, I was feeling some various guides coming into the circle. Okay, and now I'm feeling one. They're kind of taking their time a little bit though with speaking or communicating. Okay, oh, I actually need another crystal for this. Oh, let me grab this one. Okay, so this is another crystal that I'm supposed to have for this reading. I have them all like laying around over here though, and I'm just like placing them over here because I'm in a new reading space. So there's like mold in the basement. They're doing this whole renovation. But anyway, so this is my citrine. So this is a solar plexus stone. This is definitely a dragon energy stone for sure. It has a lot of fire energy with it. As pretty much any of the solar plexus crystals do, or a sacral chakra crystal, any of those, because of the yellow, the orange. Citrine is all about coming into your will and your strength and your personal power, Charisma is another word that I'm getting. Okay, and that I get that as a word also that really describes you as your charisma, and I feel like that is really something that comes through specifically from these dragon energies that are available to you. Okay, so this um while this usually is just about developing personal power or stepping into it, or it can even be an example of reserves of power or just inner strength that a person already has available to them. But in this case, it feels like more as you're stepping into your personal power, your inner strength. It's more that you're stepping into this dragon type of energy. And this as I was getting your code name last time, this energy with you, it really felt more like what you are almost. And then as I was reading this question about the dragon beings that you have here, about these dreams that you had, I was recalling that popped into my head, and how I saw you as this dragon, and it didn't just feel like past lives to me, especially when I read this question. There was an energy coming through with that this is really feels more like a soul type or like an origin type of thing. You as some type of dragon being. And now it really makes sense now with you asking these questions with these specific beings coming in through your dreams. Okay, so even in regard to question number two, this charisma and this dragon type of energy is really going to bring an influence to your mission here on Earth. But again, there's this nature energy coming in. Okay, and part of this feels like because there is this like animalistic quality with being a dragon type of being, even though it is like humanoid still at the same time, or even if it's not in a humanoid form, it's like it has this dichotomy. It has like a human level or beyond of intelligence. Not that I mean, in so many ways, animals are a million times smarter than us, but still, they do operate differently. They do think differently. So there is this kind of human mind frame of intelligence, but then at the same time, there is this very instinctual, animalistic mind operating at the same time, and kind of brain, like in a physical way, brain, but also in a soul way. Okay, I'm even feeling like a DNA strand that is coming in from this type of energy that you carry with you. So this has got to be origin soul type because of that as well. Although you can carry a DNA strand with you if you're meant to bring in an energy just of a specific lifetime. Okay, but I am feeling a confirmation of this being an origin or a soul type. So these people that you're meeting through your dreams, these dragon type beings, are people that you've known before from specific lifetimes where you were in a form that you most resonate with, where you that your soul most resonates with. Consciously, um, we can include a lot of things in our resonation, and we can resonate with certain things more than others, not always based on soul. Obviously it can be based off a thought form, but it can also be based off something that we need to be incorporating right then, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is really like who we are or something that we're ultimately going to carry with us later. One example that they're giving, which is more something I resonate with, because a lot of times, obviously, they're going to use things that I resonate with to get some kind of message through. Um, but as an example, like you can incorporate a certain color for a time. Like I started really incorporating red a lot. Wolf and I did. That had never been a color that I had ever um, cared about before at all. Or resonated with. I really didn't care about the color. I just didn't resonate with the color really. I didn't dislike the color, but I just was very neutral about the color. Obviously, everything is neutral, so it's about, what you resonate with. And then I ended up incorporating a lot of red. Both Wolf and I did. We painted our room red, and there was this shift of energy that started happening with our YouTube channel, and especially in that area in regards to our business and our YouTube channel and all those types of things, because red is a very root chakra color. So that's as a for instance. And obviously that's going to be more something temporary that has to do with an energy that we need to be incorporating, and so we feel a resonance with that type of energy, which that color kind of represents. And so it's like having that color around you can help to bring more of that energy in. And so it feels like there is this almost, yeah, like an influence, they're saying, from your guides to pull in a certain energy, and that can cause you to feel a resonance with different things at different points. So some resonations are more temporary, some resonations are more fixed, they're saying. Yeah, that's true. They're saying, but even with guides, you can have some actually temporary guides, um, or like walk-in guides type of deal, where they kind of step into your path for a time. They are supposed to help you with certain things for a certain period of time, or it's just that they're there for whatever amount of time, but it's to get one insight across to you, one message across to you. Um, and once they have delivered that message, then they're not really there to guide you with anything else. And they might even have somebody else or even multiple people that they're more primarily guiding, and they just were there at that moment to give you a certain message that they knew they were meant to get across to you. And then obviously we have our primary guides who are with us for our whole life. And those are the guides that we have. They don't really go away. Now, in this case, these beings that you're connecting to, though, they really don't feel like guides. They feel more like family members who are more like waiting for you type of thing. And they are visiting you, and they can guide you astrally, but at the same time, I don't really feel like they are assigned to you as far as actually guiding you with your day-to-day routine. Okay, I do sense some of that though. Actually, there is a sense of some of that. But it would be more like if somebody has an ancestor who's crossed over and now they're on the other side, then they might be around that person very, very often, and they might be lending their energies of their support and all of this, and they might be helping to guide the person, but there's still an ancestor who crossed over. They are not someone who is assigned to the person like they've contracted to be the person's guide. It's just that they are filling that routine to a degree, maybe even to a fair degree, but for the reason that they just really care about the person that they've had a life with. It's not because they are their primary guide that they've continuously guided throughout this soul's journey. Okay, so that's more the kind of position that I'm feeling more with these beings. Even though they can come in with a guiding current, at the same time they're not your guides, they're more like friends and loved ones who are um, just assisting you in an astral way while you're in this lifetime. So it kind of feels like they're sort of waiting for you, and this is like your temporary form, your temporary body, and there's also this sense that you do this um, regularly, fairly often. You come over and you have lifetimes, but still, I feel like you spend the majority of your time in places that you resonate with the most. And I get a sense, not that you don't resonate with Earth or other lower planes, but it lower in comparison to where you have been before, but there is this sense of okay, what I was saying was there's this sense of this human body not representing who you are, and you're just using it as a vehicle to fill out some kind of mission that you have. Okay, so I've got some other guides coming up now. There's definitely a group here, and it just feels like they're kind of all speaking to themselves as well. But there's this energy. They're like, okay, so where does the archangel origin come in? Which I had completely, totally forgotten about, but they're bringing that up. Yeah, because they're giving a double origin. Well, that's interesting. So they're basically saying, so how does that work? Yeah, they're saying that this is like a double energy. It's almost like a double energy as the origin or as the soul type. And they're saying, so what does that mean? Can you be a dragon archangel or an archangel dragon? Or can they're saying, or can you carry the heart of a dragon but be in another type of form? But then I feel like I'm supposed to immediately realize that isn't the answer, because they were just saying, that this human vehicle is more the temporary one, and it's not the one that you resonate with most. Even in the first reading, I found that a little interesting because they were coming in with the archangel origin, but I was really feeling at the beginning almost like you are a dragon when I was getting the code name. So there is this kind of dichotomy. There is this kind of just dual energy, like two different energies. And they're also saying, and can they come together, or how do they work together, and how can you have both, um, not only just one? And okay, and that's something that they want to kind of focus on for this reading. Okay, so they're also reminding me of, I believe it was the first reading that we had, which was the email reading, and they were showing me lifetimes that you had had, or at least one lifetime where that you had had, which I believe was on Lyra, and you were some type of elven, you had more of an elven type of energy in that lifetime. They're bringing that up as well, um, that's also like a resonation, like a soul resonation. And they're saying that you can have various degrees of resonation, but they are saying that your soul definitely resonates with a humanoid type of being. And there is this like two um two flip sides of mind again. Like they were saying, you can have this animalistic kind of raw, instinctual kind of power. And then on the other hand, you can have this still authoritative, but kind of less instinctual, more refined, graceful power. Is that what graceful power, I guess, you know. Okay, all right. I hadn't thought of that till just now, but okay, so even with that name, graceful power, it's trying to show these two different sides. So there is almost this kind of Gemini kind of quality, balance, and or even Libra. Libra has that as well. This energy of balance, and even two opposing things balancing. Whereas with Gemini, um, I mean, it's two energies, it's the twins, but at the same time, they're twins. They more act like a uniting type of force. But they're saying that it can be both. They're saying on the one hand, they almost kind of oppose one another, but they're saying, that they can marry, so to speak. They can envelop one another to the point that they really bounce off one another. They really add to one another. And they're saying, like the saying opposites attract, but they're saying opposites attract for a reason, because they can bounce off one another and they can fulfill one another. So it is like these almost two married aspects in a sense. Okay, so what I was just wondering in my head is, okay, is so is is this like, you have an origin that is the actual origin that you originated with, and then later on, as you pass through, various lifetimes or dimensions or whatever, and you explored, you came to a very deep resonation with um, whatever energy would be the second energy, to the point that it became who you are, because you had such a profound resonance. And we did make a video, Wolf and I, a while back, about how resonation can actually even end up overriding origin. You can resonate with a certain race or being type so much that it more overrides your origin, whereas people tend to focus so much on origin, but that isn't necessarily the place that they actually um, go back to the most often, or feel the most of a soul resonation with, that they can carry for lifetimes. They could even end up carrying that dominantly as their dominant energy, more so than the origin. And it could be temporary, but it could also end up being like their soul's current. So it would almost feel like an origin. But right away, I was getting this energetic response right away, like, no, this is uh, as soon as you came into being, you had both of these energies. And there is this feeling like they really do balance one another out. It's like it's like smoothing out the edges. And I feel like the edges would be more the dragon energy, and smoothing them out would be more the archangel energy. Okay, that's the second time I've felt that. There's also this. Okay, that's the second time I've felt that. There's also this mermaid kind of energy, this water type of energy, and that feels Syrian to me. It feels like a female from Sirius. And I do feel a Syrian energy kind of around you, not so much as a primary guide though, but I do feel like a present Syrian energy around you. Um, but there's a feeling that this female Syrian mermaid kind of energy that I'm feeling though, this feels more like a lifetime that you had. So yeah, again, there are a lot of things that your soul resonates with, that it's held on to. So energies that it's kept from various lifetimes that it resonates with, and it's almost like it's adding to its energetic collage, so to speak. Okay, so now I have a guide coming up that I believe it was your last reading when this guide came up. Oh, yeah, that's the name. Lady Venus. Okay, that was just popped into my head. I'm trying to remember what her name was. But yeah, Lady Venus. Okay. So I've got her coming up. I feel like she more represents this kind of archangel type of energy as well. She more represents that as well. So basically they're saying that even with your guides, there is kind of this, even your guides kind of show this, or you have multiple guides that more represent one energy and multiple guides that more represent this other energy, which, yeah, which is why even at the beginning, of your last reading, getting the code name, I was also feeling like kind of dragon types of energies around you. And even when I created my sacred space, I was calling in dragon guardians into the space. I was calling on the quarter dragons for the different directions to fill the space. And at the same time, and at the same time, And at the same time, I was feeling like other energies coming in that did not feel like dragon energies. And they did feel more humanoid, but actually they could have been feeling more humanoid, but still carrying a dragon type of energy. Then I have kind of a like an Egyptian priestess kind of energy coming in as well. Okay, so that's probably why I have the Isis statue here. And I almost grabbed a pyramid, but then for some reason I didn't feel to grab it. But part of that might be because a pyramid is a more masculine energy. Okay, but I'm also feeling an energy like also it's not quite as dominant. Um, the soul resonation, even though it is present. So that might be why I only ended up feeling to grab one thing versus multiple multiple Egyptian stones or crystals or statues. But there is that energy there as well. And this is kind of adding this kind of magical type of feeling. Um, just like the elven energy kind of gives this magical type of quality or energy. Okay, so the reason they're saying that you would be here as a human and having a lot of lifetimes and um, specifically Earth lifetimes as a human, but even on other places more similar to this or like Earth or even other dimensions, other similar dimensions as Earth or even other dimensions on Earth other than this one. The reason why you would um, feel to go and have those lifetimes is because it's like in some ways there is like a balance of both of these things even in a human. There's like this raw emotion, but at the same time we attempt to refine it, and it is refined to a degree, they're saying. But this raw emotion can certainly still escape, it can still certainly come through. So sometimes you can have too much of that, a person can have too much of this raw emotion and almost a need for power, and so a false power, in other words. So if you have too much of that, it's like that can take over. They're saying that's what's so good about having it balanced. Because on the other hand, if you have too much, refinement, if you have too much poise, then you could be very quiet, like overly quiet, where you don't really get anything accomplished. In some ways, this almost feels okay. I was gonna say, in some ways, this almost seems like almost feminine and masculine in some ways, because feminine is more inward and focuses on an inner power, and masculine is more outward, outward and focuses more on manifestation of whatever you are envisioning with your like psychic inner feminine senses. But they're not really, they're kind of giving me a feeling that that isn't really accurate. Um, yeah, because certainly with an archangel, you can definitely have a very masculine energy. And with yeah, that's true. Like so many dragons are female. Like a lot of the time you hear more about a female dragon than you would a male dragon. So certainly dragon energies can be female. And yeah, they're also saying think about when like a mother is, if you have a dragon mother protecting her eggs or something, you're going to have a very fierce foe. So they're saying that it's not really about masculine versus feminine, or even being withdrawn versus being outward, even though they used being quiet as an example, but it could also even just be almost being boring or something. um, or they're saying, or being confined. So they're saying if you have too much of one, you are confined. If you have too much of the other, you're almost like brutish. So it's like you're overly dominant. But they're also saying that either way, you're going to end up exploding. If you're too confined, you're going to end up just exploding. And if you're too much the other way, you're probably going to be exploding all the time in these shorter outbursts. Whereas this other one, they are saying though, can be more destructive because it comes all at once. But they're saying that they would be equally negative, or together they can feed off one another and balance one another out. And they are this like perfect dichotomy, this perfect balance of two things coming together. So they're saying that you need to recognize your true power and not allow it to become false. And that's really this is. And to allow yourself to express emotion but not dominate others. So they're saying that you can see this in humanity, and so it would be very easy to have a like human when you have these sort of opposing and yet very balancing, harmonious energies. So they're saying that part, they're saying, and they're saying, and they're saying that this doesn't even have to do with what you're going to be doing on the world, but more inner workings, things you want to accomplish for your inner world. They're saying part of it, even though you already have this balance at the same, because it's there within you naturally, at the same time, they're saying that part of what you would want to achieve inwardly is this graceful power, um, being completely stable and harnessed by bringing it to a perfect balance where it's in complete total unison, and it's naturally flowing as who you are, and there's never one um, kind of coming out and overtaking the other. Sometimes they're saying that one might be needed to call upon, but that's different because still, in a sense, it's being directed by the other one to be called upon. Um, but so it's still influenced by the other energy, it's still allowed by the other energy. Whereas if it's controlling or overtaking that other energy, you're going to see a disharmony, you're going to see an imbalance. So yeah, so they're saying it doesn't mean that one in a particular area isn't stepping forward more, and that it's not more visible or more obvious than the other at times, or at any time where that is natural, because that's a balance too. Um, to have one step out more than the other at various times, and both of them step out in different areas um, equally, in an equal amount of ways, in equal amount of times. But they're saying one sort of stepping on the foot of the other one. And they're saying that you can figure out what they mean by your own behavior. Where they're saying in some areas you're more confined, or you feel like you lack charisma, or you lack fearlessness. And then on the other hand, you overstep yourself in certain areas. So you can see those areas, and you can improve them all, and you can, so to speak, they're saying, refine them all. So even the edges can refine the smoothness around the edges. You know, they can both complete one another. They can both improve one another. And they're saying that it's about harnessing each of them at appropriate given times. So they're saying even on Earth, like in various regions on Earth, you can see these two energies like in different countries. So part of what you're here to do, they're saying, is to balance these energies out. So not only within yourself, and that's why it would be important um, to continuously strive to balance them within yourself, because they're saying that part of what you're here to do is to balance these energies out within the world as well. These two energies that you carry. They're saying, because you can see that raw emotion has kind of overtaken everything in some parts of Earth, and not in a healthy way. Yeah, like they're bringing up terrorism, for instance. They're bringing up women's rights too, and suppression. So so even though they were saying that if you're holding in all this raw emotion, you can feel confined. At the same time, like they were saying, if you are if you're overly controlling or overly dominant or overly powerful in a false sense, in a false way, then you will victimize others, and you will overly dominate others, and you will basically show that you are not powerful, because you will dominate and suppress others and make them feel like they don't have a voice, they're a victim to you, they have no power, or like you are more powerful than them. But if you're subjecting someone to that, then that clearly comes from a place of having no power within yourself and knowing it's underneath. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel this need to cause yourself to feel this false sense of power by overpowering others in a false way. Or in any way, really, because they're saying in any sense, unless you're defending someone who can't defend themselves, if you're overpowering someone in for any other reason, in any other sense other than self-defense or defending someone else, then it's always a false power. But they're saying that you can see this in the world. They're saying some people have become too comfortable and they stay in one spot and they don't really progress, or they progress in a way that, like an old way, that they're saying it's never refreshing. It's just this recycled pattern that they've always been in. So they're progressing only in a single direction with a single mindset, and they're saying that this is also a waste of energy, it's a waste of time, and they're saying they progress without progressing. So they're saying, so what's the point of all their progression? What's the point of it? Because they're still moving backwards at the same time, they're still harming themselves at the same time, and they're never really moving forward or accomplishing the goal, whatever their goals are. Even if they think they are, it's never in a complete way or in a truly fulfilling way. And they're saying, and still at the same time, there is this sense of overpowering others. They're saying because when you are confined and progressing in a single mindset, still there's this energy under your confinement, or an energy that you are attempting to hide, that's still focused on greed and needing more and needing to overpower others. So they're saying that comfort is not truly comfortable for anyone. Not when you're overly comfortable, not when it's to the point that you're stuck, not when you're locked in a comfort zone. And comfort zones should be broken through, but they're saying so should beliefs that you're comfortable with. So they're saying a belief zone. They're saying a comfort zone or a belief zone, which is really, they're saying all a comfort zone is. It's a comfort belief zone, or a belief that brings you comfort in a negative way, and it gets you stuck in one zone or one mode of being and operating or thinking or feeling, or all of those things combined. And you're acting out of it, or you're being out of it, or you're feeling out of it, or thinking out of it. And regardless, you're expressing yourself out of it. in one way or another, you're expressing that false energy that you have accumulated. So they're saying that so even a positive energy can become a negative energy if it becomes stale because it's not being used. And so it just ends up festering. Or they're saying, or if originally it was positive energy and it was used and used and used and used and used, and there was never any newness or any life put into it, then it becomes negative if nothing new is generated from it. So they're saying, so it's about these two energies coming together and bringing balance, but they're saying at the same time, balance brings change. And it always brings change. It always brings what's new. It always brings a new thought, a new energy, a new emotion, and never an ability to be stuck or an ability to get negatively comfortable. So they're saying, so think about the areas in which you are comfortable. Now they're saying, now if your soul is telling you, do this thing and continue doing it, that's not really what they're talking about. They're saying, for instance, like if someone enjoys working with animals and they feel like that's their career and they feel like this whole lifetime, all they need to be doing is working with animals and working with animals. So they'll learn from it and they'll change and they'll adapt. They'll learn new ways of working with animals as they continue to explore this area. So they're not saying change the whole area or drop it and move to something else unless your soul resonates with doing that. If your soul doesn't resonate with that, then they're not suggesting that you just drop everything because you've been doing it for a certain time. So that's not what they mean by that. But they just mean don't get stuck. And they're saying in certain parts of the world have gotten very stuck, and they're saying all parts of the world really. And they're saying, so in some parts of the world there appears to be this structure and confinement in some ways, but they're saying, but under that there is just this chaos and this what was the word? Well, I'll just use the word chaos. I can't remember the second word, but underneath there is this chaos, there's this imbalance, and then in certain parts of the world they're saying it's like there's no refinement, there's just chaos, and there's constant change, constant movement, constant chaos, but change in a chaotic way, you know, not change in like a new way, like they're stuck in the unexpected, in a sense where everything is constantly moving in a chaotic, unstructured, imbalanced way. Oh, corruption. That was the other word they used. They were saying, but underneath the structure, there is this corruption that's stimulating it. And even in a sense, they're saying is the root of it. So like what the structure is almost based on. So they're saying it's like the structure is based on lies, and corruption. They're saying, but then on the other hand, you have no structure, and this is also based off lies and corruption. And they're saying that most places have both of these energies in balance, but in different areas. And I have this cheesy song all of a sudden just playing in my head a bunch of times. That song, What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love. That is the only thing that there's just too little of. But what they're saying is that it is really about self love. That's what's actually lacking. Like people assume it's love towards others, but like they were saying before, if you feel powerful, you'll empower someone else. Wolf says this all the time as well. And if you feel disempowered, then you are going to attempt to overpower someone else. You're going to attempt to make someone else feel powerless. And so if you love yourself fully and completely, then all you're ever going to put out is love. That's all you're ever going to show to anybody around you because you fully love yourself completely. So that's what you're going to put out. That's what you're going to resonate with. And that's what you are going to reflect outwardly. And that's what's going to come back to you. So if someone isn't loving towards someone else, it isn't about the other person that they're not showing themselves as loving towards. It is because they are not truly loving themselves. Even someone who appears to only love themselves, so they're like really, really greedy or really selfish, this is actually because of a deep feeling of unworthiness and a hate for themselves. So it's not out of a self-love or a love for themselves, not truly. It may appear that way because they're doing so many things for themselves and not for others. But the fact that they have to continue giving and giving to themselves and not others is just again showing this emptiness inside themselves, that they haven't fulfilled themselves, that they don't truly value or love themselves. So they're saying that there are these energies throughout the world and that you are here to help to balance them and assist the world with recovering itself and recovering its balance. And you can do that because of these two energies that you have. And now they want to talk a little bit more about these two energies and where they came from. Okay, so I'm going to have to get into that. Okay, so this isn't something that we've really talked about on our channel yet. Maybe eventually we'll make a video about this. I don't know how exactly we're going to talk about this, but well, we have spoken about thought forms. So basically, we've talked about how you create a thought form by basically dwelling on something. And if you're dwelling on fear, as a for instance, then you end up with conscious fear. So you end up with this programming or this thought form, which is a consciousness. So it is a soul. It is a spark of a soul. But it's not so developed that it can think for itself yet or move beyond. It is thinking for itself, but in the way that you programmed it to. So it can't yet move beyond this small programming that it has, basically of dwelling in fear and feeding you thoughts of fear. But eventually it can develop to the point that it can even have lives of its own. So it is actually a soul. It can incarnate, but it started off as a very, very small programming. And people create these. So we have the power to create anything as God does, since we are all God. So basically, now you can have, you can have a very underdeveloped soul that in a sense created you. Now it didn't create you as energy, so you always existed. But consciousness, on the other hand, the Council for the Assistance to Earth teaches that consciousness starts. So energy doesn't start, and in that sense, you can never end, and you never began. But your consciousness can start. Your consciousness can begin, and so there is this spark of consciousness. All of a sudden, this energy is thinking about something. All of a sudden, it's able to dwell on something, whereas before it was just energy there sort of waiting for somebody to create something out of it with it. So yeah, you can have a very undeveloped person create you, and they're not even aware that they're creating you. They're just dwelling on something, and all of a sudden you come into existence. And it would be very, very hard to stay in existence at that point for long enough to become a soul. So this is another thing that the council teaches, that at these early stages, consciousness can also end. Later on, like myself or other human beings or animals or whatever, they've had so many lives. Their consciousness is, you cannot, how are you going to end that? But these very beginning thoughts, so they don't teach that consciousness, once it gets to a certain point, can end. They teach the opposite. Once it gets to a certain point of development, it can't really end. But in the beginning stages, it's like it's what they call a spark of soul. So it is a soul, but it's like a tiny spark. It's like a baby soul, and it can't yet feed off of its own energy. It still needs somebody else's energy, and so it can end up just dissipating. Now you can also have, though, so like I said, it would be very, very hard for it to continue growing and growing and growing and growing, and then end up overriding its programming and end up being able to think whatever it wants on its own, and then create its own manifestations just out of everything that it's thinking and feeling, and having overridden its programming. So it's no longer thinking out of whatever you gave it. It is its own unique soul thinking on its own. It would be pretty hard for it to get to that stage, for the reason that you were very underdeveloped when you manifested this consciousness. Now, on the other hand, let's say you're a very, very, very highly developed being, and they're aware that they're creating you, and they can create you with certain things. Or you can have more than one type of being. You can have a family of souls, or you could for instance have like 5 souls who sort of come together, and they put their intentions into creating a consciousness all together. And so this being that's created then is going to have various energies from this soul group that went into it and created it. And they might even, give it like a type of mission, or they might help it, decide on various missions. So in other words, give it like a mission later on. In other words, as it develops, they might assign it things. They might just let it go off and just be on its own, or they might guide it. But either way, you're going to have these beings, that were just having fun, creating, and so they created something which came out of them. But at the same time, this being, because of how developed they were, it's going to have the ability to sustain itself automatically, and it's going to have the ability to think its own thoughts, have its own feelings, and to direct itself. So this has to do with how you were created, and it has to do with what being types created you. And when you came to consciousness, what energies were filling you and what energies were fueling you and helping you along, so to speak. So you have this dragon energy, but then you also have this archangel energy that sort of makes you up and drives you. So you have this dual origin, and this is very unique. And this can be used to help others around you. But they're saying, but you have to make peace with it. You have to bring it to balance. You have to harness both sides equally and not let one step over the other in any area of your life. So they're saying that this concept of balance needs to be lived by. And they're saying that's the only way that you can really bring true balance into the world or help others to achieve this type of balanced state. It is by you being balanced yourself and you coming into harmony with yourself. And they're saying that there's a time and a place for everything, for every energy current. And they're showing me a picture of you like harnessing energies, but I'm getting a feeling with it of this not only being about these two energies now. Now I feel like they're kind of speaking about something different. Now I feel more like they are speaking about you as a channel, that you have the capability of channeling into master channeling, and that you can really harness other energies down through you and use them. But I even see like you can channel like just messages as well. You can just channel beings who are just sending you messages. And they're saying of various races. But they're saying that this is even something that you could practice in like a sacred space. You may even have done some of this before. There is a feeling like you do channel already to a degree. Whether this is conscious or not, there is a feeling that you're already channeling. And there's also a feeling that this is just sort of natural for you to do, that you just naturally harness and channel energies. And they're also talking about just meditating on the word balance, just meditating on that word and meditating on balancing yourself and balancing out these two energies within yourself. So yeah, I am getting a feeling of two beings they're giving me. That two different beings brought your consciousness into creation. And there's a feeling that both of these beings were male. So both of them were in a masculine form at that time. Whatever incarnation they were in, whether they stayed in those forms and they're still in them now, or they were still exploring incarnations, at that time, both of them were in male forms. So there is certainly a significant amount of male energy with you and male energy with both of these two concepts then. This refinement or grace and this rawness or this power, this raw emotion. But both of these were male beings that created you. That's something that they are repeating. So they are saying, while yes, it is good for you to balance, also your masculine and feminine energy, which obviously you can do, even though they were in male forms, obviously they have both, they have both masculine and feminine energy. But they're saying, while it is good to balance both of these out, to balance your masculine and your feminine energy out, they're saying at the same time, you have all these like reserves of masculine energy there for a reason. And you're able to use those reserves. And not just reserves, but you're able to use that energy that makes you up and is who you are. There's a reason that is, in a sense, the dominant energy. So while they would say, yes, ultimately, it's possibly good to balance those out, at the same time, they feel like, it is there for a reason. Those energies are there for a reason. And the fact and they're saying these two energies, this raw emotion and this raw emotion and power and this refinement and grace, this poise, they're saying these are there for a reason, but also the fact that it came through predominantly masculine energies, there's also a reason for that as well. And then there's also a reason that you're in a female form at this point. And they're saying there's a reason that this is meant to come through a feminine form, um, through this lifetime and your specific mission that you have in this lifetime. So they're saying that you are going to be helping to balance these energies out. And they're saying that there is such a, variety, such a huge variety of ways that a person could do that. Person could have a career as a politician and help to do that. A person could have a career as a feminine rights activist, they're saying, or as somebody who is just a general rights activist. It could be for animals, it could be for people of another race. Or they're saying that it could be something entirely different. They're saying like a scientist can come up with an invention that they bring to some country and it helps them improve in some way. It helps them step into a more balanced energy in some way. Or they're saying, or you can go in a spiritual direction. You can help people to meditate on their own balance and balance out their imbalances through spiritual means. They're also saying you could create something. You could create art that um, brings ideas to a culture, and it helps them, it inspires them, or it brings ideas to individual people, and this helps them create their own balance, and it helps them to step out of imbalances that they have manifested. So they're saying, so there's multiple ways that you can do that, and they're not really going to say which one that you're going to choose through this reading. They want to give you the concept first, this concept, and they want you to focus on manifesting it firmly um, within yourself, and then yeah, firmly within yourself first, and then through that manifestation, you're gonna start you're just gonna know what to do. And they're saying this is another thing about you. You have a knowing. You know, you have the capability of just understanding, you know, where you need to go, who you are, what you need to be doing, who you need to be talking to. That intuitive compass is certainly a part of you and there. So they're saying to trust that, but they're also still saying to refine it, to hone it, so that you can trust it more. And to channel energies that will assist you throughout your life. Okay, so now I'm actually going to grab another crystal. Okay. This is my quartz crystal. Okay, and they're going to have me just surround you in some positive energy with the crystal, and certainly this crystal, it really has always represented to me an angelic frequency coming in, or in this case specifically an archangel energy coming in. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and surround myself first. And I'm supposed to be saying graceful power while I'm surrounding you in this. Um, okay, and they're saying that since that is this code name that they gave is referring to this balance, they're even saying that you can actually even use that. You can actually speak that during meditations, or dwell on that during meditations to to create this type of balance. Okay, now I'm supposed to be saying balance. Oh, okay, there's another crystal that I need to be use. Okay. So now I'm going to use my citrine, which represents more the dragon energy. Okay, so again, I'm going to surround myself first. Okay. And now I'm surrounding you. Now I have a horse totem coming in at the end here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and look that up. Okay. So, horse totem. Know that you have the power to change anything and everything you choose in your life. Understand that the wild freedom of the horse can be harnessed and used for your own benefit and for those around you. This understanding comes only when man and beast enter a silent contract, acknowledging mutual respect and awareness of responsibility to each other. And that just confirmed the entire reading. That's freaky. Okay, so harnessing man and beast, these two energies, and bringing them into mutual respect and awareness of one another. Okie dokie. So we have a few minutes left if they want to say anything else, but I'm not sure if they do. Okay. And I have everything laying around here, so anything that they want me to grab during the reading. Like if I didn't grab anything beforehand at the beginning of the reading, it doesn't matter. I don't have to go and get anything. And I'm in my room, so this is just all like laying on the table where the TV is. Okay, so fairy cards. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and start with these two. Okay, so I have here the singer, well, of transformation. Whoa, it almost kind of looks like a dragon a little bit in the camera. Or, wait, no, transfiguration, not transformation. And here I have Solus. He's, oh my gosh, he looks extremely, there he is. He looks extremely bright in my LED lights. Okay, but so this is very much, yeah, that's actually true. So this is very fire energy, but at the same time, Solus can actually be representing an archangel energy as well. Okay, and so the Singer of Transfiguration um, is just like sort of a yes card. And so basically, this is really talking about just allowing this energy up and calling upon it to be harnessed and to be used. And it is about almost, they're saying, almost stepping into allowing mode and just allowing this energy, letting it happen. So in other words, being your unique self and allowing these two energies to just sort of play out, and even to have respect for it yourself, for where you came from and what you carry and who you are and the energies that have developed within you, and to let them be there and come out in the way that they do. And not to confine anything, they're saying, not to trap yourself or limit yourself, or even end up exhausting energies or wasting energies because you possess them, or you confine them, you hold on to them, and you don't allow them to pass through you. And they're saying that that's what harnessing an energy does, or harnessing a power, that's what it does. It allows it to pass through you. Okay, so oh, there's so many cards right here. Okay, too many, fella. Okay, so this is, he has a funny name, Faf, Faf the Footer, sitting there on his mushroom. Okay, and basically this card is all about waiting, and waiting for communications, and kind of sitting and meditating. And it's basically, this card basically says that there are basically energies coming towards you of information, and basically to sit and relax and wait for those things to come to you, and basically that you don't have to know everything right now. And going along with these cards, it's that as you allow these energies through you and to pass out of you in the way that they are meant to, you're just going to know where to put them. You're going to know what changes need to be made, and you're going to know where to go, just like they were saying early in the reading, because you have a knowing. And it's like you almost, there's a feeling almost like even through these energies, these two balanced energies that you have, it creates this knowing, because these energies know what to do. They know where to go. You know where to put them. So if you're allowing them to come through you, they're going to know where to go, and they're going to direct you. And it is you. So in other words, you're going to direct these energies. You're going to direct yourself. Okay, so that is the remainder of the reading. Okay, so thank you very much, Graceful Power. Now we really understand what your code name means. But thank you. I think they tapped a little bit about that, though. They tapped into that a little bit, though, during the last reading, too, I think. But I don't really remember it that well. So anyway, thank you so much, Graceful Power, once again, as I always say, for allowing me to do this reading for you. And as always, I truly hope that it helps you on your path, and that it enables you to connect more with your true power and who you are. Namaste.